Flip, what's the matter with you?
Welcome to the 10-year mini reunion of the Flipped movie cast. I'm Wendelin Van Draanen. I am not an actor. I am the author of the book Flipped, but if you have read the book or if you have seen the movie, you will understand why I think it would be great fun to reintroduce these four to you basket boys style. So I have a basket, and in the basket I have names. And so I'm going to pull my first name, and it is Madeline Carroll. So Madeline Carroll, let me tell you a little about her.
Can we cheer or do we stay silent?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Hey, Madeline.
Just this introduction, and you guys are going to talk the whole rest of the time.
Perfect.
So Madeline played Juli Baker in Flipped, and has recently starred in I Can Only Imagine, I Still Believe, and Then and Now. She loves to watch movies, binge watch series, and look at houses that are for sale. Her favorite show is Forensic Files. Her favorite movies are Pride and Prejudice and You've Got Mail. She's a fan of iced tea and dumplings, though I don't think she wants those at the same time, or together anyway. And if she had a magic wand, she would cure all the sickness in the world. So, Madeline, it's so good to see you.
Thank you for having me. That intro was really awkward, but
I'll pay $4 for.
No, I'm understanding it now. I get it now. The questions. I'm with you.
See,
I'm
I
with you.
needed them.
There's-
Otherwise, I would just say what I thought, you know. And now you understand also how Bryce felt up on that stage where Miss McClure, and it's really kind of scary to me that I'm playing the role of Miss McClure right now, where Miss McClure was trying to, you know, hawk those basket boys. Okay, the second card I pulled was Stefanie Scott. Stefanie played Juli's steadfast friend Dana, or Darla in the book, and has since turned in outstanding performances in films such as Insidious, Beautiful Boy, and Good Girls Get High. She loves long walks on the beach, she enjoys knitting, and would choose to have her picnic basket full of Thai food. Welcome, Stefanie.
Hey.
Woo. All right, third, we have, Callan McAuliffe.
Hey. Here we go. Terrified.
You want to hear about you? All right.
All day, every day.
Callan played Juli Baker's neighbor, Bryce Losky, a lad confused both by girls and chickens. Since Flipped, Callan has been involved in a wide range of projects. For example, he played young Gatsby in The Great Gatsby feature, has had a long-standing role as Alden in The Walking Dead, lent his voicing skills to the ghostly game Return of Obra Dinn, and wrote the completely charming novel The Hill Ghost.
Hey, you got it.
Yes,
little bit of
and
free
I read it
advertising.
and I loved it.
You
The
can
Hill
purchase it on
Ghost.
Amazon.
What?
Little pitch there from Callan.
You're an author? Sorry, continue.
I'm not an author. I've written a book. I think when you've written two, you can call yourself an author.
It's-
Anyway, we digress. Please keep telling us about me.
Yes, I will continue. Callan loves whales, clouds, seagull noises, and scientific literacy. His favorite food is spaghetti bolognese. But since he no longer eats red meat, you will not find it in his picnic basket. Okay, and last but not least, I don't even have to draw because we know this is Israel Broussard. Israel played Bryce's full of bad advice friend, Garrett. He has been in lots of other projects since his stint on Flipped, including The Bling Ring, Happy Death Day, and the upcoming Fear of Rain. He loves camping trips and beach days, is an accomplished musician, and enjoys carpentry. His favorite foods are chicken, green beans with bacon, and mashed potatoes with brown gravy. If he had a magic wand, he would use it for a nice wave of reparo around the world. Okay, well.
$1,000.
$1,000 for that basket.
That's it.
Okay. Well, as you've seen, there's been a lot of excitement about you guys being together again. And as promised, we're going to do a little reminiscing, but we're also going to answer a lot of those questions that came in online. So they came in from around the world. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but they came in from everywhere. It was really cool. So we're going to start with that. And I have them in yellow and orange, little
Amazing.
in the basket.
I'm so excited.
Question number 1. And I think we'll start with one of you, and then all of you can give kind of a, an abbreviated answer. It's better than yes and no, but not, a whole dissertation. So
Fair.
Here we go. Question number 1. Tell us about your audition process for Flipped. So you all were very young when this happened. And do you even remember?
It might be the only thing I do remember.
Oh, okay, Callan, tell us about it then.
Oh no, that wasn't me
it
volunteering.
Was.
Oh. Well, I remember I wasn't overly afraid of Rob because I wasn't familiar with his films, being kind of a young Australian kid, not particularly cultured. I was more afraid of Madeline because I knew I was going to have to chemistry read with her. So I think that actually got me the role, though, that kind of anxiety of standing next to somebody who was far more seasoned as an actress than I was. I think Rob saw that and was like, that's perfect for Bryce, who needs to be just outright terrified of this young girl. So yeah.
You played awkward so well. It was
Thank you
just
very
like
much.
you felt awkward just for you. It was just.
I felt awkward watching the movie. I tried watching it the other night in preparation for this, and I couldn't do it. So
no, it's like, oh, poor Bryce, poor Bryce.
Yeah.
So, Stefanie,
so that was my story.
Do you remember it at all? The audition.
I do. I remember I auditioned for Juli, and then I auditioned for Shelly, or was it Sherry? It was changed.
Yes,
I don't remember which
changed.
one was which.
Yeah.
And then I remember at my callback for that, Rob had me go out with the sides for Darla, and then read for Darla. And then I came back and didn't I read with you, Madeline? Maybe you don't remember. I'm pretty sure I came in and I read with you, and that was my first time doing something like that.
I think we did. I think we did read together.
Yeah, but that was it, really.
Yeah. So were you, I'm sorry, I was going to say I got another question, but it'll be follow up later. Israel, go.
Okay.
Oh, I just remember doing the self-tape with my mom and then flew out to LA for the chemistry read. I think, Callan, did we meet then?
I don't know if we did, unless we did in the audition. God, you could tell this is going to be a hell of a time. We're all like digging. We're all digging. I think we did. If we did, it was in the waiting room, but I don't think we read together, did we?
No, I read with Maddie, but and then I left, and a couple weeks later, I guess I got the call, and then but that was exciting for me. That was my first film, so it's I didn't really.
Wait, that was your first film?
Yeah, I had done a short film and
mine too, man. I didn't know that, or maybe I did know that, and I've since forgotten. But in any case,
it was all very new to me. It was our first day on set too. I didn't know we were doing.
What a way to start! I mean, with a Rob Reiner film. So, Madeline.
Funnily enough, I remember everything like pretty clear. I remember I knew who Rob Reiner was because I had grown up loving the movie Misery and Stand By Me. But really Misery, I loved it so much, and when I heard that he was directing it, I knew that he had directed that, so I was actually really excited. But the first thing I remember is my mom used to always read scripts before I read scripts, and I remember coming into my mom's bedroom, and she was sitting in her bed crying, actually, that she had just read that script, and I was like, oh, it must be a really good script. So I read it, and I loved it, and I prayed so hard that I would get the role. And I remember going into the audition in Beverly Hills. I remember the building and everything, and I walked in, and I remember looking at the sign-in sheet, and I was the first girl to put my name down, and I was really nervous because I was the first one to go in, and I felt like, oh God, like this is either a good thing or a bad thing. And so I went in. I remember seeing Rob and Alan and Andy and everyone sitting at like this really long table, and I just remember going for it, and I remember saying my lines, and I remember saying like the voiceover part, but the first time I saw Bryce, I flipped and all that, and then I left, and I felt really good about it. And then later that night, actually, within one day, this has never happened to me ever again, I found out I had the part, like going home. So it was crazy. But I wanted it so bad. And so I don't know. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Okay, so because Mads apparently has an impeccable memory, she's the fulcrum around whom we're going to swing this entire conversation.
Right.
Run everything by Madeline.
You can be our historian.
That's right.
Let me do question number 2. If you could keep a movie prop from Flipped, what would it be? Let's start with.
Oh, sorry.
Stefanie.
Volunteering. That was him.
Who's? Oh, you're volunteering.
The cars.
Oh.
There's a picture of me in the school bus. It's like an inverted picture, and it's just stuck with me. And all the cars, the truck. I love that style.
That's funny because I was thinking, what would I say? And I think I would take the Baker's green truck.
Yeah.
You know, the old jalopy that everybody was like,
wait a minute, are we allowed to take the period vehicles?
No,
I thought we were talking
not.
like
it was a prop.
handheld props.
It was a prop.
I'm definitely
Stefanie,
going
is there
for
anything you wish
one of the
you had?
cars.
Steph, is there anything you
Me?
wish you had? Yeah.
It's really hard to remember.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, anything really.
Yeah. Madeline, is there any special thing that you wish that you had as a?
I actually was just trying to remember the prop master. She was a woman's name right now, but she actually gave me the newspaper that had Juli Baker in the tree. I got to keep that. And I also got to keep the basket of eggs that I tried to give Callan in the movie.
Wait a minute. So were they prop eggs or real eggs? I don't remember. Because 10 years on, it's less charming, I imagine.
Yes, I would say.
I don't know what they'd look like now if they were real eggs in my storage, but they were just plastic, like fake plastic eggs. Some of them were real. I remember when I was picking up the chickens and all that stuff, they were real. Yeah. And then the egg embryo at the science thing, like that was real.
That was real,
but the eggs I got to keep were plastic. But I got to keep them, and I have them in my storage. I was so thankful. And I got to keep my shirt. I still have my flipped.
I love that.
Oh, you do?
Cool.
I have mine somewhere, I'm sure.
I don't have one of those. What I do is I have the back of a director's chair that they gave me.
Oh, I think I have one of those.
Oh, okay. Which to me is enough. It says everything in that one.
I was there, all right.
So, Callan, what would you take? What would you steal? What would you wish you had?
I don't know. I'll have to ask Mads. I think I remember having a bunch of those beautiful antique tin toys in Bryce's room.
Yeah.
I'd probably take one of those because I've always thought those were.
Did you secretly play with them between takes?
I don't know if it was secret, but I definitely
played
with them. I was very much like a prop fiddler. Like even at the big dinner scenes.
Wait. He's a prop fiddler. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like a snake wrangler.
The prop fiddler.
That's funny. Oh, I'm not going to forget that one.
Never
None
gonna
of
live
us
that
are going to
down.
forget that one.
But like I would always just kind of play with everything in the room, and that was also including like the food. Whenever we would have an eating scene, I would just be constantly eating the food.
Well,
even when we weren't rolling, I would just eat it. I'd have to keep replacing it.
You were a growing boy.
That's right, I was
So-
growing.
Okay, next we have the question. What's your favorite memory from filming the Flipped movie? It could be like a favorite scene, or it could be like something that happened. What's your favorite memory? And we'll start with Madeline because she remembers everything.
My favorite memory, gosh, I have so many, but I remember the most awkward scene was definitely the almost kiss scene, Callan. Do you remember that? And I was like,
Boy, do I.
I was freaking out. And then, to be honest with you, the whole experience, like, I loved playing outside at the hotel, like we stayed at, guys. Do you remember just like hanging out and playing outside?
Yeah.
The
I
whole
remember.
like summer, it was so fun. We had so much fun. I don't know, my favorite, I don't know, maybe that almost kissing, particularly with the movie, was probably like my most memorable because I was like passing out all day, thinking that me and Callan were gonna actually kiss, and I was mortified.
God forbid.
I remember our canoe trip pretty well. Do you guys?
Canoe trip. Are you in the right movie?
We
Yeah, no,
took a canoe trip.
We all took a canoe trip. We were filming in Michigan, and we went and took a half-day canoe trip, and that was tiring, but we had so much fun doing that.
So that was like time off then.
Yeah,
It
that
was
was off time. And then we had, somebody brought like a bike. Was it your brother that brought this little chopper bike that we'd ride around?
I think so. We kind of took that hotel on our backs. What was that hotel again?
It was like a Holiday Inn or something.
Yeah, it was
right?
definitely.
They were sick of us by the end of it, that's for sure.
That was
They
so
were
much
sick of us at
fun.
the beginning.
There's my pizza roll bill, my Hot Pockets from the hotel front was like
Yeah.
$7. I would
found
just,
out that Michael Jackson died in that hotel.
Oh,
Does anyone remember that? We saw
Michael
it
Jackson.
on the news. I'm pretty sure it was Michael Jackson.
yeah. I was in the I was getting the fitting. I was in the fitting, and that's when we heard Michael Jackson.
I thought you just said that Michael Jackson died in that hotel, and I was like,
we were in the hotel when Michael Jackson died.
oh, see, I misunderstood that too. Okay,
we learned about it. Yeah.
all right.
Oh, Christ.
Maddie was complicit.
So, so your favorite scene from the movie or your favorite memory, I just have to interject here that it has become part of the thing we say in the family, Stefanie, we say, there was no beef. So that's my favorite line. I love the way you deliver that line. There are a lot of really great things that all of you have done in that film, obviously, but that's the one that sticks with us as a family. That's the line. It's the way you delivered it. It was just so funny. And Callan and Israel, the way that you guys are behind the fence looking into Julie's backyard, and you're like, what's a chicken? What's a rooster? No, that's a rooster.
I remember that, Dave.
I mean, red stuff, and it's like the total bad advice from the character Garrett, and then Bryce just taking it like, okay, I'm gonna go back home and tell my dad. I know what a chicken is. So have the two of you figured out what a chicken is? Do you know the difference between
one of my
a
favorite things
rooster
to
and a hen?
My mom owns a bunch of chickens, and I'll take care of them. But sadly, I do not know the difference. I know that I know which one's the rooster. I think, but I can tell more of the size and its attitude. But I know they're I go take their eggs, and they don't mind.
Oh, so
Israel,
did this
do you
start
remember?
after Flipped?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Did this
Yeah,
start
that
after Flipped?
It was after Flipped.
Oh,
She's
that's
probably
so
4
cool.
or 5. She got into gardening, and they bought some property, and they're starting a farm now. So got some dogs.
Awesome. And
That's so cool.
Madeline, I have to throw in that the scene that I didn't realize it the first time I saw the film, but then when on subsequent viewings, when you come racing up after the Basket Boys, you come racing up on your bicycle, and you get off your bicycle and you run into the house. That whole smooth movement of coming up the driveway, bouncing up the driveway on your bike, dumping your bike and running in is so impressive. And I'm like, was that really Madeline doing that then? Because I didn't even think it at the time. Was that a stunt double or was that because it was done so well? You know what scene I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I know the scene you're talking about because I think I had on penny loafers and I was so scared that my feet were gonna keep pedals. But that was me. He had me do that like 100 times because he wanted it particular like that. But yeah, that was me. Thank you.
It was amazing.
Parents know about it? Were they willing to cover? Right, it was smooth.
Thanks, guys. No, yeah, that was me. But speaking of the penny loafers and stuff, I remember doing like 4-hour fit-ins like 3 times for Flipped. Did you guys do long fittings?
Yeah. And that's where I learned Michael Jackson died. Was it that one?
We're like the Kevin Bacon game. Let's bring it
Michael Jackson died in my fitting.
During my fitting.
Yeah.
So
that's how long
that was another question. I don't know if I can grab it, So that was another question that came in online is that you guys did not grow up in the 50s and 60s, and the costumes, the clothing of that time was so different from the way that people dress now. Did you enjoy the style? Were the fittings torture? Did you like, what is this thing they're making me wear? I mean, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? And Stefanie, start with you.
I loved it. I love dressing up in old clothes and stuff. It was really fun. I remember specifically I think it was the Basket Boy scene. You know how they had like hundreds of kids as extras in the audience, and they cut all of their hair with those 50s hairstyles. Like, do you guys remember how some people had to cut bangs and it was kind of not great in real life because they were the short little ones.
Yeah.
They were just not very 2010 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember they were cutting everybody's hair. We were just all like, oh my gosh, that's so intense. And everybody was cutting their hair to here and stuff. It was cool.
I mean, for Michigan, if I lived in Michigan and I was like, if that came to Mississippi, my hometown, and there was a era piece film and I had an opportunity to be an extra and I was like, you got to cut your hair for it, shave it. I don't know. I probably
like, you don't care. Yeah.
I just think that'd be cool. Like, you know, I don't know. Everybody that came to help out for the basketball scene, and just around the school, they were all really chill, really down to earth.
They were too. Yeah, they were amazing.
They grabbed some great kids.
Bunch of really.
Well,
nice
I remember
kids.
we all hung. Wait, what was that?
Go ahead, Steph.
Oh, I was just remembering during lunch and stuff, everybody was always playing and we all had so much fun with each other. It was great.
It was a bloody summer camp.
It was.
Yeah.
There were two extras. I don't know if you guys remember, but there were two extras that like kind of like fell in love on set, and the kid, he wrote her like a long poem or whatever and asked her to be his girlfriend. Do you guys remember that, or no? Am I the only one?
That
Thank
sounds
God we
like
got
vaguely
you.
familiar, actually.
Yeah, and there was like, he wrote her and he was like gonna ask her to be his girlfriend or whatever, and they had met on the set as extras, and we just had so much fun. Like you said, Stephanie, we all just kind of like ate together, had fun together. It was just fun working on a movie with so many kids.
Yeah.
So,
The keen sting of love.
You wonder if those two, they were kids, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they were teens. Okay. You wonder if they stayed together and if they, have that flipped romance story in real
can we
life.
take a bet?
Yeah. Well, no, let's not do that. So Callan, was there anything about the costuming or that whole like?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd come pretty much straight from Australia for this, where one's style, especially among the young lads, was necessarily simple for fear of social ostracization. So for me, like I had to. This was before LA had forced me to get in touch with my feminine side, So getting overly dressed up was confronting for my. From my personality, but it taught me a lesson. I loved it in the end. When I finally saw like all the footage and everything, I was like, hey, I look pretty dapper. So yeah, I was happy about it.
So, and I remember Rob saying that the character in the book has blue eyes, and that's one of the things that Juli Baker is nuts about. But you have brown eyes, and he's like, should I make him wear blue contacts? Should I not? No.
What did we?
I'm not
on the set. On the set, we called them bedroom brown eyes. If you remember, Madeline.
Oh my God! Yes, we did.
Yeah, I needed a name for them, and that was it. So yeah.
Okay. So what was
describe them?
Didn't Callan, you had to cut your hair too, didn't you? Because I remember auditioning with you and you had long hair.
Ooh.
Longer.
It was because my hair's always done this like mushroomy thing, like the skater look. If you let it go,
The girls don't know what to do, so it turns into a wave.
they have no clue. Yeah, exactly.
And it's fabulous right now, by the way. I will say.
Thank you very much. But I've got to use it before it disappears. But on the movie, I remember we had to dye it like 7 times in one day or something like that. Yeah, because they wanted a particular shade of blonde. So they were getting both of those things wrong. I feel.
Yes, they were.
But in any case, it worked out. But we had to go through like 6 different shades of blonde, one of which was green. But my hair never really recovered, I don't think. It's been dead for a decade. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so brown eyes, yeah.
All right.
We had to imbue them with their own new quality with the bedroom brown. Go ahead.
So next question. So yeah, okay, this is a little redundant, but what was the hardest scene for you? The one that took the most takes, the one that was the hardest for you to nail?
It was when we were walking, and that was my fault. We were walking down the hallway. I was pissed off at Bryce, and I knew I couldn't get the line wrong, or I couldn't get the line right. And every time I'd stop, or every time I'd mess up, I would stop and I'd turn around and I'd go back to 1. And I don't think that was the right thing to do. Like, you know, because you gotta reset the extras. You gotta reset everything. And I was frustrated with myself. I think, you know, Rob may have been a little frustrated. There was just this one tongue twister, I think, that I think it was like something to do with Sherry. And I couldn't get it out for the life of me. And that was difficult. I was definitely beating myself up when I went home that day.
I'm imagining they just got a bunch of takes of you just turning around and resetting while everything else keeps going.
Not even like they make progress.
Oh my God.
Together because oh God, sorry, continue.
Steph, what about you? Was there a hardest scene for you? And don't tell me there was no B.
Because that was impactful.
My favorite line.
I think you did that in one take.
I don't know what I mean, I didn't really have any like difficult scenes. I was kind of just like having a good time, and I was just having fun, you know?
Nice.
I mean, obviously, Madeline and Callan had a lot of really challenging scenes, and I just watched the trailer a couple minutes ago, and it's so good. I hadn't really seen it in a while, and like, I don't know, you guys were just so good and pure, and it's so, yeah, it's just really sweet. I love it so much.
We should all be very proud to have been a part of this film, I think.
It's just amazing you guys were able to do that when you were 12 years old. And I don't think any of us were aware of how young we were either. So that's what's so funny about looking back is we were working, but looking back, you're kind of watching yourselves as kids like, oh, I know you didn't realize what you were doing at the time, but you guys are just so good in it. So cool.
So that's something that I find curious or I'm curious about is that you were cast in this film that I mean, people called it an instant classic. There were so many positive attributions to this film, and it was set in a time period that was way before you were even born. So there's this whole kind of aspect to it. It's nostalgia over something that you have no nostalgia over, and it is this film that continues to move around the globe. I mean, it opened, I don't know how long ago it was. It wasn't very long ago, but it opened third at the box office in South Korea. They've just reissued like versions of the book in different countries because the films come through, so they're reissuing the book. So there's this kind of, it's washed around the globe, and you continue to get new fans who have seen it for the first time, but that was 10 years ago. And so you've done a lot of things since then. So my question, to get to it finally, is do you ever look back on Flipped as being kind of a curse? Like, oh gosh, all people talk about is Flipped. Although I'm not saying that's the case, but if because they gush about Flipped, do you ever feel like that it's a bit of a curse because you can't move past it? Ooh.
Never, ever.
Good.
No, I'm so lucky to be like, I was so much fun.
I suppose. Yeah, go ahead, Israel.
I feel like, you know, especially looking back, and I'm like you, Callan. It's really hard to watch myself. I'll see it once or twice, and then going back, it's difficult to watch movies in general now, just because I guess being a part of it, you pick up on the little things, and when I see myself, it's difficult. But I mean, looking back and seeing how young we were, but who was a part of the project and what the film itself, what the message behind it meant. I don't think doing any other first genre would have helped me, if that makes sense. If I'm wording that correct, I would have much rather have done a good-hearted, family-oriented movie with a positive message than anything else that I've been in since. And I like that. I feel like, you know, you grow in that.
I agree. No, that was beautifully said.
It really was.
What he said.
I agree with Israel on a lot of stuff, but for me, I don't look at it as a curse. To be honest with you, Flip has blessed me more than anything else I've ever done, because for me, it's like Stefanie was saying, like at the time I was so young, I didn't really realize exactly what I was doing. I knew I was grateful for it. I knew that I loved it. But looking back now, I'm so beyond grateful for that time in my life, because like people tag me all day long in artwork that they take time to make, and stuff that they create because they watched Flipped. And it really does make me emotional, because like those are, like Israel said, my favorite kind of movies. There's nothing more I would have rather made, and still continue want to make movies like that the character and the story means so much to people that they watch it. People tag me and they're like, I watched this movie for the 6th time today. And I know what that feels like, because I do that same thing with You've Got Mail, and I do the same thing with Pride and Prejudice. And it's a movie where you are going to be okay at the end, and it makes people feel okay at the end.
So accessible and so timeless as well.
It's so timeless, and anyone can watch it. And so I don't look at it as a curse. I look at it as my greatest blessing, and kind of as like a I don't know what you'd call it, like a goal. I want to make stuff like that. I want to give that to other people in so many different ways, because those are the movies to me worth making. Don't get me wrong. I think horror movies, I love them. I love shows. I love all kinds of filmmaking, but those movies to me are the ones worth making, because they'll last forever and they help people get through things. And so I'm beyond grateful for Flipped. I don't look at it as a curse at all. It's the best kind of curse, if that's what you want to call it.
I guess I was cursed by the immortalized image of the makeup department's hard work, because I can't. While Mads gets all the artwork, I get all of the comments telling me I've had a glow down in the last decade.
Oh,
People are
boy.
always comparing me to my beautifully coiffed blonde hair, lovely clothes.
Oh, the bones are all you.
Thank you. This is true.
Yeah. So as the author of this story, I have a question for you about, so there was the film and how it affected your career. And I would say, I think that it has been a positive thing for all of your careers. But then for me, it's like the story. I wrote this story, and it was just like this little story from my heart that I didn't know was going to go on to my editor before it became a film. My editor called it The Little Book That Could, because it just went out there and people would talk about it and give it to their friend, and their friend would talk about it and give it to. And I remember when I was in Michigan visiting the set, that they were surprised that Peter, remember Peter? He was the location scout. He told me he found the school, and the school had all read the book Flipped, and he was surprised by that. And I'm like, well, I'm not, because this book is just this quiet little thing that has been passed around from kid to kid. And I think that it resonates with people in a way that's sort of universal. So my question, once again, getting to my question, has the story itself affected your outlook in life, or the way that you look at other people, or your relationships, or just has the story itself, not the movie, but has the story affected you in a way that you've carried forward in your life? And it's okay to say, I didn't really read that book, so.
Suppose I've learned that no matter how many times you do someone dirty, if you just plant them a tree, you're back in the black.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good for the environment too.
I feel like the big takeaway is, life is complicated and love is fairly simple. I don't know, with socializing, growing up, being a teenager, trying to figure out how to act, who to be, and how to treat other people. I feel like it's easy to get lost, growing up, and there's especially today. I mean, I feel like it'd be a lot easier in the 60s, not as many shiny objects to get distracted by. But I don't know, it's the story is, you can get lost in all the chaos of what Garrett's saying and what Dana's saying. But I mean, really at the end of it, Juli has this overwhelming feeling towards Bryce, and Bryce has this kind of buried feeling towards Juli. And that's simple. I don't know, they uncover that, and they have to drop off a little bit of the BS to do so, but they've come to the simple truth. And life and all of that is just, you need to go through it, you need to figure it out. It's complicated, but at the end of the day, who you love is who you love. Who you need to be with at the time is who you need to be with, and just keep growing.
You have grown into a very philosophical person.
Mads for memory and Israel for messages. I love it. Everyone else mute himself.
I think about Flip now, and I look at how we are so divided as a country and kind of as a world. And I feel like the whole idea of looking at the other side of the story, you know, like.
And having to physically flip the book to do so. You have to physically flip yourself to look through the other person's perspective.
If you can try to figure out what the other person's perspective is, or why it is they think that tree is beautiful when you think it's just like an eyesore. I mean, what is it? And then the other person can look at your point of view. If we could, like, just as a people, you know, learn to see the other side, then I think that there would be a lot of that healing that we all wish for going on. So.
Yeah, I think there are a few steps in personal growth that are more important than self-awareness and being able to put yourself in the shoes of another.
Yeah.
And we can learn that from this.
So now I'm going to take you on a trip down memory lane.
Oh, God.
So I'm going to share something with you here. And it's a little montage of the stills that I have put together from the flipped premiere, because you guys are so adorable. So so you guys came up.
God, I was defensively jocular even then. My God.
You guys came up to Pismo Beach, and you it was 4 hours north for you. You came up to Pismo Beach. We had this big premiere where we had given away tickets to kids in the community, and they came to the matinee. You stood and took hundreds of pictures with them. You were so kind. And then between the matinee and the evening showing, we had you sign hundreds of books that we then gave away to people who were attending the evening show. You signed and you signed and you signed. And then your parents went out and got Burger King for you. And then we had the evening showing where once again,
always would put that duck.
It's a penguin, and it's been in like 4 different movies in the background. Sorry.
All right, well now it's the book. So you signed, I mean, you took pictures with all these people for, who knows, an hour ahead of time. And then afterwards, we were all in the concession stand. And this is how I remember you right here. Your patience and your kindness and your just work ethic were just so remarkable for people your age. And so there we are in Pismo Beach. And I'm wondering, so my question.
Such an irreverent little shit, wasn't I?
You were just so sick of having people take your picture. And who could blame you? So my question is, do you even remember that premiere? And or like tell us about a premiere experience for Flip that was really fun for you, or just what it was like to walk the red carpet for the first time, or anything along the premiere kind of and avenue of discussion. So Stefanie, I'm going to start with you again because you said the least of all of us.
Okay. I just remember it was really fun. I think it was the first time I had seen the movie, and the first time I had seen myself in anything like on a big screen too. And I remember the premiere in Pismo Beach, and I remember driving up there, and it was just fun. I mean, that's all I remember from it, is that I have really good memories of being with you guys, and how exciting it was, and being so young, and it was our first time doing such a cool thing, but I don't think we realized at the time, what a cool thing it was. And I just hope you know how grateful I am for that experience, and how happy I am that I got to meet you guys, and we had all of those memories when I was 12 years old, I think, when we did all that.
Oh my
That's just
God.
amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, Madeline, first, I mean, this was not your first premiere because you had done several projects before this, but reminiscing about what a premiere or the red carpet or any of that stuff that people glamorize. My red carpet experience down in LA for this Flip movie was terrifying. People were there flash bulbs, and I was like spastic, and there are all these pictures of me going on the internet. I'm just like, oh, that once was enough.
I had so much fun from what I remember. I just had fun. It's like when you're that young, you don't really think about it. How when you're older, you know, like I feel like it's a lot more stressful now, like going anywhere like that when you're older, because you just think about it more. And I don't know, it was just so much fun. And I remember specifically about the premieres, like we had went to a bunch of different like towns and stuff and had watched it. And I think like we had seen it so many times by the time we saw it at that premiere, but in LA specifically. But I remember more than anything like watching the movie and thinking, this is exactly the movie that we made. Like when I read the script to it being finished, nothing really changed. You know what I mean? Which I found after, you know, all these years, that a lot of the time that doesn't happen. There's a lot of times I go and I see something and I'm like, what the hell is this, you know? And so I think it just all around looking back, it really does feel nostalgic. The whole thing, the whole experience I remember being so excited that I was going to work with kids my age when I did Flipped, and just all of it. It was like summer camp. I don't know like how else to explain it other than like a beautiful, beautiful experience all around. So by the time the premiere happened, I'm so happy that I was as oblivious as I was at the time and being so young, because now I would be like probably grieving by the time I hit the premiere, like, oh my God, this is over. When at the time we were just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Mads, do you remember if we shot anything that wasn't in the movie? Now that you've said that, I'm trying to think back to whether or not
Any deleted
that
scene?
was the case. Yeah.
I don't remember anything being deleted, and now I'm curious, like on the DVD, if there's anything that like they didn't have in there. But like from what I remember, like I remember everything being in it, and like nothing really changing. Like
because it is a rare thing when you see a film and you're like, and you don't go, what happened to this? you know?
You know what I mean? Like I remember like what we were doing. It's like I don't know, and it could be because Rob only did like a couple takes of everything. We were always done like super early, so like there really wasn't too many options to choose from. So that could be part of why like it felt like, okay, that's what we made because we only did like 4 takes, you know. But,
well, I feel like I also feel like he did a good job casting all of us, because we definitely fit together well, and when we would shoot, we knew our lines and we would just kind of do it, you know, and we already had this energy, just our different personalities that fit well. So I feel like
it was like a well-picked rapport. We did work well together.
Get what he needed, you know, to get the authenticity of what, you know, he wanted, except for that hallway scene where I made him.
And that bicycle scene, apparently. Well, it struck me.
Type scene, so.
And they don't have a menu in the Flipped movie I have, so I can't see the deleted scenes. Maybe on the DVD, I'll have my parents check.
Yeah.
I think Rob's a very efficient director also. So, and he knows what he wants, and gets it done, and then he moves on. Yeah. So, and with that, and the whole from beginning to end, it just seemed to me to happen really super fast. So, but.
Actually, I want to ask you too, Wendelin, to that like point. Did you feel like when you saw the movie, did you feel like that's the book I wrote? Or
yes, I mean, so okay.
The blonde hair, it wasn't the right shade. Bedroom brown.
I was just so grateful that he stuck to the story, and there's a lot of
explosions.
There's a lot of fun like stories that go along with my first call from him, and kind of. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but I read the script before principal shooting began, and I saw that the ending was just like the book. He had done just like the book for the whole thing, and for an author, that is a dream. Except I'd been getting fan mail like for years about the ending, and it's like, Bryce and Juli don't kiss. Anyway, so I decided that when I read the end of the script, I decided I needed a meeting with Rob Reiner. So I scheduled a meeting, and I drove down to LA, and I had a meeting with him, and where I laid out the reasons why Bryce and Juli need to kiss at the end of the movie. Mostly it had to do with me not being, because I've been promising, because there's going to be a movie, I'm sure that it's going to have a Hollywood ending, and then no, the movie's just like the book. And so I said, you know, you could have the credits going, and Bryce and Juli could be riding bikes together, getting to know each other, flying kite, doing whatever they're doing in this movie. And then at the very end, everyone will stay in the theater. Everyone will wait because they know this is they're finally going to kiss. So, and he listened.
Post-credits kiss.
he listened very nicely and then went out and did precisely what he wanted. So but I thought just last week that maybe the reason, maybe an influencing reason for that, was that he didn't want to subject the two of you young people to the awkward situation where you would have to actually kiss. And who knew? Maybe it was actually your very first kiss. So it was like, well, maybe he was just having mercy on these two actors. But so that's a little funny story that goes with an author trying to tell the director how to change their book rather than the author trying to convince the director to please stick to the book.
And I feel like, you know, it would have been, I feel like it would have been a little different having a kiss. I feel like the fact that they didn't kiss allowed the movie to be focused on the love story itself rather than, you know, if you think about it, 11, 12 years old, I mean, we've seen kissing stuff, you know, especially in 2020.
Yeah.
But like it keeps it enclosed in this innocence, you know.
Right.
And
it makes the peak
like
the eye contact as well.
Taking away that innocence.
Yeah.
But it very well could be, you know, not wanting to subject you guys to, you know, a little smoochy on the cam.
See, because how many takes would that have taken, you know? So.
Madeline would have said no more than 2, possibly 3.
Yeah, and then cut, good, go. So, well, I mean, I ended the book the way I ended it because I thought that was the way that people would take the story and then think about it and apply it to their own lives. Like, right. What should Bryce do? What should Juli do? What would I do if I were Bryce? What would I do if I was Juli? And at that time when you're stirring all these emotions and to give contemplation to it as opposed to having it lined out for you, you know. And they lived happily ever after was not something that I wanted to put down because I want people to find their happily ever after on their own so that they're able to take the experiences of these characters and apply them to their own life. That's my nuanced reasoning with leaving it the way it was, but it doesn't stop the mail from coming. You look, hey, there's Flip 2, you know, so.
Yeah, we've all seen those comments, my
yeah.
God.
So I have something else to share with you just because I think you'll find it interesting. I mentioned how Flipped has continued to spread around the globe. And these are the covers of the Flipped book in markets around the world.
Wow.
So you'll see, I mean, and you'll see the one with the DVD cover there. I think that's Polish, but it's in China and Russia and Israel. It's in places that I had to look up on a map. The pink girl with the dandelions around her with the blue on, that's Russian. There are just so many countries that have been reading this book. And a lot of these came out before the movie. And now that, as I said before, now that the movie has made its way around the globe, a lot of them are being reissued with either new, the pink one here with the green leaf up in the upper right corner, that one came out just this month in the UK because Netflix is streaming the movie this month there.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
That's awesome, yeah.
I
still like yours the most, I think, the original.
The upside down chick.
Well, yeah. I'm looking at all of them. It's hard to pick a favorite there. I'm like, wow. My God.
It's one of the coolest things about being an author is your foreign editions because the artwork is just you see the way they design it and what they choose.
Did you have a hand in any of those or no? Were they kind of?
Oh no. Oh, they'll send it to me for approval.
Okay.
But I always just say, well, you know your market and approve it.
Fair enough.
Unless there's something wrong, which I can't read because it's in the language
a couple of them look like they're done by first-year graphic design students, but a lot of them are great.
But you see the recurring theme of the chick and the tree and the two characters, and to me, it's really neat to see how such a wholesome, innocent story resonates so much. The Philippines love Flip. They're crazy for Flip. Yeah, I know. So, okay, you ready for some more questions?
Please.
I am. And as we're speaking, Callan, I'm buying your book.
Don't you dare.
You doing what?
I don't want anyone I know or respect to read it.
It will be here Saturday.
Which,
Sorry.
are we talking about?
We're talking about The Hill Ghost.
Yes, the charming The Hill Ghost, available on Amazon.
Oh, Christ.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
All right.
I wrote it in 2016, so I read it now with some apprehension, but
Well,
but I'm proud of it still.
so I have 35 books, and I read. It's just like you would continually re-edit all of them. For the future novelist and all of you, or the scriptwriter and all of you, because I know you have it in you. There is that continual desire to re-edit what it is you've done. And I'm sure with your performances as well, you look back, but you know what? You did the best you did at the time you did it. So move on.
I think everyone did a wonderful job.
Okay, this question. Did Rob give you any funny or insightful advice to help you with a scene or your character? I like this question. Okay, where are we starting? Madeline.
I'm trying to remember if he gave me any funny or insightful advice. I feel like Rob kind of like just kind of let you be, kind of.
Yeah.
Does everyone else kind of feel like that? Like
Yeah,
he just let you do your thing?
I was trying to figure that out too. It's like I know it was there. I know it was always behind the camera.
He must have been there.
He kind of really just threw us in and captured what.
I think his advice was just so wholeheartedly absorbed by all of us that we've since forgotten it.
Or we just weren't paying attention and we were messing.
Yeah. That too.
Maybe
Bunch
he
of kids.
realized that all the playtime and the canoe trips and the, the sharing in the news of Michael Jackson's death or whatever, all of that had
These
bonded
bonding
you
experiences.
in a way that you guys were real friends and that he didn't really have to coach you a lot. I remember the way he was so good with the little kids, and it kind of surprised me. And I don't know why it surprised me, because he's a dad, but it kind of surprised me how good he was with the little kids, and how patient. They would come up to him and want to sing a song, do a little dance, show off tonight. Sorry, but they and he just was very patient with them. So, all right, moving on to another question.
Shoot.
Oh, do you think? Oh, I like this one. Do you think Mr. Losky would end up accepting Bryce and Julie's relationship?
That question falls on Callan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's your dad.
I mean, I have a feeling that he, for some reason, probably. I think he would, but I like the image of him not doing so, because I think it's funnier. I kind of imagining him being afraid of like a hereditary salmonella in his grandkids or something like that.
Oh my gosh, that was great. Oh, you're so quick. You are so
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you are quick and witty.
Gold star for Garrett.
I have a follow-up question for that is, do you think that your on-screen parents are still together? Do you think Mr. and Mrs. Losky made it as a couple?
Absolutely not.
I don't think they did either.
No.
Anybody else want to jump in with an opinion? How about Mr. and Mrs. Baker?
Yeah, I think they were definitely still together. Don't you
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah.
I think for sure.
Yeah.
I think so as well.
This is sad. I just pictured one of them getting sick and
Oh no.
like taking care of them.
Let me look up the divorce rate real quick. I'll get back to you.
Oh,
They
that's
would be there. It'd be
fascinating.
like a sweet story of. There should be if flip 2, it should be about the Bakers, something like that, and then we'll come in and terrorize for a few.
Well, he said it. He said the cursed words. Flipped 2.
Yeah. You said those,
Game over,
those
folks.
words, Israel. Yeah,
Confirmed.
I took all the questions that had to do with, will you make a flip 2? And everybody's very interested in whether you guys are friends and get along and all that kind of stuff. And I think they can see from this that you do get along well. And I don't know how much the industry allows for you actually to be, comrades and playing together on the swings of life. But
I think the last of you the last person I saw in real life was you, Steph, right? We almost were roommates a while back.
Yeah.
I remember
Well,
that.
I've
But
seen you around at gatherings and stuff. I think we all have a lot of mutual friends.
Classic
I see
Hollywood.
Madeline at auditions all the time. And we got together, I guess, was that probably a year ago? We all grabbed coffee and hung out and maybe had our own like reunion.
Oh,
Was that?
I think Callan was filming though, right?
I was gonna say I don't remember being there.
Yeah,
but then
you
again,
were
my
there,
memory's
but
pretty
we were all
bad, so-
there. And Ashley was there too, and it was really
Oh, wow.
fun.
Yeah, Romy came to that. That was good seeing her. Romy's Rob's daughter.
yeah. Okay, so let's do one more question. And why do you think that this movie continues to impact so many lives? Wax philosophical for me, Israel.
First, I'm happy to know it's doing so well in different countries. I didn't know that it recently came out in South Korea, so that's good. I feel like there's a empty space for positive films that used to be there, and now it's edgy is the new sexy, and so that I love edgy films as much as the next person, but there's this void of I don't know. There's no movies being made lately like this. Obviously, we've got Lionsgate's coming out with a bunch of stuff. I mean, there was I Still Believe, I Can Only Imagine, which did really well. But I don't know. I feel like people want to have movies like this where they feel
It's wholesome,
better
right?
about themselves by hopefully becoming self-aware of some of their own issues and coming out of that with more of a positive outlook rather than just continuing the vicious cycle of life.
The vicious cycle of life. Okay.
I stumbled through that answer, but yeah, I'll take it.
All right. There's a stinger there at the end. So, Madeline, do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, I agree. You watch movies like Flipped, or you watch movies like Sleepless in Seattle, got added to Netflix, and I'm a really big Tom Hanks fan, and I just really anything he makes, and so we'll just use him for this answer. But like so many movies that Tom Hanks makes is like just wholesome. They're just so wholesome, and I just feel like I don't know. I watched Sleepless in Seattle the other night, and I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I was like, they literally don't make movies like this anymore. And so to have been a part of something like Flipped, to be a part of Flipped, I'm forever, ever, ever, ever grateful because I'm not 13 anymore, and I'm so happy that like everything happened at that moment in my life, the time it did, and I'm so honored that I got to be a part of it because it literally is my proudest thing because it makes people, like you said, it's had such a life for years and years on end, and it's blessing people and inspiring people. And my goodness, the day you sat down at your computer or whatever to write this, did you have any idea that it was going to just keep moving like that? And that's the stuff that I think is worth creating, and I'm just grateful.
Yeah, no, and maybe we can talk about that later, but it's just, no, I had no idea. I wasn't contracted for it. It was a story that just came from my heart, and it's kind of has been amazing to me to see how it has touched so many other hearts.
Well, now, was it difficult for you? Flip
that around for me. Okay, Ezra, go.
Was it difficult for you writing both perspectives?
No, actually it wasn't. I have two brothers, I have two sons, I have a husband, I am surrounded by boys. And I was a school teacher. So it was actually, I do, like Callan can do different accents really amazingly. And I'm like a sponge for voice. So kids in my classroom would talk, and then I could channel that. I could hear that again at the keyboard when I was writing a story later. Writing the girl perspective and the boy perspective, at first I was totally on Team Juli because, I had a Bryce in my life.
I was going to ask. That was going to be my next question.
No, we're not going there.
Who was he?
Oh gosh. But then as I got further along with Bryce, I could see that Juli was annoying. And so I'm like, oh gosh, Bryce has a point. And so then I started sympathizing with Bryce because at first the ending was going to be different than it was. Okay. But then I realized that Bryce was redeemable. And then I liked Bryce. And so
wait a minute, what was the original ending? I think we all like to know. Is this juicy?
You have no idea. So, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to go into that any deeper. I'm just going to say that having written Bryce's side, then I had the boys in my life read it and tell me, is there anything in here a guy would not say? Because very often a female author can write about a male character, but then there's a female, you could tell it's a female writing it. And I didn't want that. I wanted it to be a total boy. And so they gave me a few notes, and I took those to heart, and I changed the language enough so that it was all boy. So that's the answer. I'm going to move on to asking you about what you're excited to be working on now, what's coming out next for you, what can your fans look forward to seeing from you sometime soon, sometime non-pandemic soon. Stefanie, I'm starting with you because you've talked the least.
Okay.
Hey, Steph, how are you holding up without the air conditioning, by the way? It's been off the whole time.
I'm getting progressively sweatier as this goes on. I just got a window unit, and it's saving my life, but...
You're very wise to wear the red outfit, because we can't see you getting redder either.
By the way, Stephanie, say this.
So
I loved Beautiful Boy. You were so good. Me and my brother watched it like a couple nights ago, and I loved it. You should be so proud of that movie. And I'm really jealous that you worked with Timothy. I have like a crush on him ever.
Oh, it was really fun. Yeah, I don't know. The question was, what are we doing now?
What's coming up next for your fans, where they can find you, see you, what are you excited to be working on, or that's, in the queue?
I'm ready now. I just shot something, but who knows when it's coming out because we're in a pandemic. And then I guess the latest thing that came out, it's on, it's called Good Girls Get High, and it's on HBO Max. And that movie's really fun too. If you want something wholesome as well, it's less like, sad and scary, it's really fun watch. And that is all the self-promotion I have today. Thank you so much for asking.
Okay. Madeline, how about you? What's coming up?
To be honest, I don't know. Like, I've been just took on this whole weird thing. I don't know. I might write a book too, like Callan. I've been asked a couple times to, like, the past 3 years, people have been wanting me to tell my story. From 18, a couple things that happened. So I don't know. I might do that. We'll see. And I helped write some of the stuff on I Still Believe. So that was kind of my first time writing for a script or whatever. And then I kind of was like, you know what? I think I want to do this. So more so than acting or anything, I've just been writing and having fun. I don't know if it's any good or anything, but I've just been kind of doing that. And then speaking, I speak a lot now, motivational speaking and stuff like that. So I've been doing that, obviously a lot of it online, but yeah, I don't know. It's been a whole weird new season, and I'm just kind of walking it out. I don't know. So We'll see. I still want to act and everything, but I think I'm definitely turning much more into wanting to make stuff.
Well, I think a lot of actors diversify as they get older. They produce, they direct, they write, and I think that's a really healthy thing to do, and they continue to act. So, Rob's done all those things, right?
Yeah.
He's done all those things.
Whole shebang.
Good.
Yeah. So, Israel, okay. What's coming up, man?
I filmed something last year, and it got pushed. But now it looks like it's coming out 2021, Fear of Rain. And that's it.
Wait, what's the title? Tell us the title.
Oh, Fear of Rain.
Okay.
Or it's I Saw a Man with Yellow Eyes. I'm not sure. I don't even know if I'm technically supposed to say it was
Bedroom Yellow Eyes?
Fear of Rain.
Bedroom
Yellow Eyes. Run that by them, actually. After this call, I'll give them a...
Yeah, because I don't know how to edit, so too bad.
No, I did a short film with my buddy Nolan a few months ago, and that was fun working on it. And with the pandemic, everything's just a nice screeching halt.
We will get through this, though. This is not going to last forever. And when we're through it, people are going to want movies.
It's weird, as an actor, you sit at home all day anyways, but you have, more freedom to actually do extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
But I've been more productive in the pandemic than I have outside of. I've doing a lot of carpentry, doing a lot of music, and just been having fun. I got to keep the creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
So good on writing. Keep that going.
Yeah.
Callan, I'm going to read this this novel you got here. Signed copy, I might add.
Thank you, man.
Which novel would that be?
That would be
All right. For goodness
Just-
sake, ladies and gentlemen.
Find it on Amazon.
Wait, I have another novel you could read.
And also,
I've heard terrible things about that
I
novel.
know. You know, somebody scribbled in it. Someone scribbled in it right here. Can you see that? He dropped the duck. We had him.
Oh, there's no duck.
There's no duck.
It's not
Oh,
a
it's a
duck
penguin.
either. It's a penguin. Thank you.
Well, okay.
Thank you.
was that because of Club Penguin, by the way?
I'm not going to pretend that wasn't an influence on the design of the character.
Oh, that's terrible.
Do you still really look up to Johnny Depp? Remember you loved Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I mostly looked up to Jack Sparrow just as a
Okay.
as a character.
So, okay, Callan, what's coming up for you?
What's coming up for me? Israel's going to read my book.
Well, you're in Atlanta. Are you're filming, yeah? Or are you?
Well, no, I'm in Atlanta because we were filming at one point in time, or rather, I'm on a show that ought to be filming. But actually, I don't know how much of this I should be saying. But I'm on The Walking Dead at the moment as a series regular, and I rented a place last year, namely this tin can that I'm in for shits and giggles. And just because of the pandemic, nothing's been going on, but I still have the place and I still have my car. So I just kind of came back. So I've just been here waiting for things to happen. And there's a film that I'm going to shoot hopefully in a couple of months, provided things clear up and they prove that they're going to abide by all the requisite COVID protocol.
Yeah.
And if that goes ahead, it'll be directed by a dear friend of mine, two dear friends of mine, by whom it was also written. And I think it has a chance to be one of the best things I've ever made. So here's hoping that it comes together. I'm very excited about it. But other than that, I've just been hanging about, trying to write more.
It's a real tough time for actors because you really, everything is on hold and you don't know for how long.
Like Israel, though, the only difference being that I've been incurably lazy for much of my life. So I've gotten used to kind of like the actor's profession as well kind of permits that, unfortunately, a lot of the time, because a lot of the logistics work around you. Exactly. So I've kind of I don't know how much my schedule has changed during this pandemic, you know? I feel like I was prepped for it.
You know, someone said, no, you're not allowed to do stuff. And I said, yes, I'm going to go do stuff. Being safe, of course, but like
I admire your productivity.
I actually got off my ass and started all these projects that I've been just keep pushing off and being lazy.
Well, good for you.
Amazing,
I mean,
man.
I think a lot of creative people have felt like crippled by just the state of things. But if you can move that aside and then take the time, like we always wish we had more time to do those pursuits that, you know, we've always wanted to do, but that you've had a productive pandemic is a very good thing. So, okay, wrapping up, because I've had the joy of your company for the allotted time. Is there anything that you would like to say to fans of Flipped? And I'll start with Madeline.
Great. Thank you so much for organizing this Zoom and letting us be a part of it and getting us all back together. It's so good to see everybody. So thank you, Wendelin. Thank you for writing it in the first place. Thank you so much for forcing yourself to sit down and write it. And I'm just thankful to all of the fans because you have made it what it is. You know, it was a beautiful story at heart. It was a beautiful piece of work and we all did our best, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't have been anything hadn't you have seen it. So thank you so much for not only watching it, but continuing to post about it and share it with other people and letting them see it. And I mean, it came out in South Korea 3 years ago. Like, how does that even happen almost a decade later? So thank you so much to all the fans. And it really does mean the world to me because I look up to Elizabeth Bennet and I look up to, Meg Ryan and You've Got Mail. And so for you to look up to us like that, it really does mean the world to me because I understand it. So thank you so much.
Nice. Stefanie, anything to say to the fans of Flipped?
Yeah, thank you so much for watching and continuing to watch it after all of these years. Again, I've said this so many times, but I'm so grateful to have been a part of it. And I just had so much fun. And whenever I think about making the movie, I just think about how much fun we had the entire time. And I feel like that just sounds so boring to say I had so much fun, but it was just the best summer
It's so
ever.
true, though, yeah.
Yeah, I just remember, like, I don't know, like you were saying, summer camp. I felt like, I think I was only there maybe 3 weeks or something, but it felt like I was there for a couple of months. I just remember it was filled with so much fun again. It was a good time.
It is, and I think that is underrated. Fun is one of those things, fun and joy and just enjoying life. There is nothing wrong with enjoying life, okay? So
yeah, we were just being kids, and I think that's why people really enjoy it is, you know, so many films these days, which is totally okay, but everything is kind of played by older people, and it's kind of like thought out too hard. And I think we can't come up with any advice that Rob gave us, because he just let us be kids, and I think that's what's so endearing about all of you guys in the movie. And like you were saying, how you were so nervous to be standing next to Maddie in the audition, and that's why you got the part. It's because he just like let us be how old we were. It was a good time.
Israel, to your flipped fans.
Well, I'm just very grateful that it's resonated with so many people, both the book and the movie. You know, I'm seeing all the covers for the book itself in all these different countries. That warmed my heart. It was beautiful. It kind of goes to show everybody's, you know, everybody's culture has, you know, it takes it in a little differently, and that's interesting. Like I want to know more of how, you know, people in Korea are resonating with this. And as far as the movie goes, I mean, I'm wowed that it's still being released and it's doing well, and that makes me happy. This was a great experience. I think a lot of creative and talented people came together to make this happen, yourself included, and then hire a bunch of you know, ruckus-ridden kids to try and bring it to life. And yeah, I think we did a great job. And again, I'm glad it's resonating with everybody.
Okay, Mr. Bryce, also known as Callan.
Yeah, I mean, I share the same sentiments as everybody else. I think I get prouder and prouder of this movie as time goes on, especially as I guess the cinematic landscape evolves, because it really does exist in a world of its own, and it was such a beautiful and important part of my life. And so I'm very grateful, of course, as Matt said, to you and to everyone here for having made it a hell of a time. And then, yeah, to the fans specifically, never stop. I think I still get residuals occasionally. So, you know.
Never stop.
Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Well, on that note, it's been really fun to see you all again, and maybe we'll do this again in another 10 years. And in the meantime, we will look forward to new projects coming out from you and keeping tabs on you. So for everybody watching, that was it. Hope you enjoyed the 10-year mini reunion. Remember to surround yourself by people who are greater than the sum of their parts. And we all wish you a love that is iridescent. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, have you flipped? What's the matter with you?
A lot of young teen drama going on.
Yeah, a lot of pre-hormones happening.
Flirtationships.
That's right.
It was
Flirtationships.
it was summer camp, damn it.
Yeah, that's
Hell
exactly
yeah.
what it was.
Well, because that was one of the questions, and I didn't want to add it to the list because I thought that that's a very awkward question. But so there were the stirrings of romance among the cast during Flipped. Is this what you're saying?
Yeah, I remember going to.
Very innocent, but it was there. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just awesome.
Hey, have you flipped? What's the matter with you?